GG Sports Podcast, Week 5 Power Rankings are here. We have some shuffling in the top 10. Let's jump in. Another week of the NFL is in the books, and man, I'll tell you what, again, just some teams that I didn't really expect to be playing as well as they are playing pretty darn well. And that, I think we're going to see that reflected in our power rankings this week. As I said in the intro piece, got a little bit of shuffling in the top 10 even. Some good teams that we thought would be top 10 all season long fell out. I don't know, man. It's weird. The NFL is weird this year, but it always happens this way, and things always seem to normalize by the end. But I don't know, man. Some of these teams, they seem like they're here to stay.
Yeah, dude, I agree. Yeah, there's a lot of teams we didn't expect that have we actually have a new number 1 this week, and that was another team that I don't even know if we would have had in our top 10. It would have been close.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of other teams. There's also other really good teams that we thought would be top 5 all year long who are sneaking outside the top 10. So it has been kind of a weird year like that. But yeah, let's jump in. But before we do that, I want to thank everybody for watching the GG Sports podcast of the Minnesota Vikings. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, get notifications from our videos, all that good stuff. Let's jump right in.
We each are wearing some merch. We got some swag now. That's kind of cool. So GG Sports Podcast, let's go. But anyway, as Jamie was talking about, and I kind of mentioned too, a lot of teams that we didn't know, like we weren't expecting to be as good as they were, but a team that we were expecting to be as bad as they actually are this year. That is our number 32 team. Again, this week, the Houston Texans. No moving from last week. This is just not a good football team. That there's not much more to say about it. You know, obviously, still got a young quarterback. Outside of Brandon Cooks and the running backs, Damian Pierce, that's his name, I think. Outside of that, not a lot going on here.
Yeah. 0-3 and 1. The only thing about them is they've seemed to like at least be somewhat competitive in games. I mean, even in this game against the Chargers, it was 34-24. Chargers were demolishing most of the game, and the Texans kind of made a little comeback. Obviously, a tie the first game, and then there's a couple of other games that they've had so far that they've stayed competitive in it, but just to lose. But yeah, I mean, even from a talent standpoint, you got to say they're the worst team. So
moving on to our number 31 team, another team that is right where we kind of thought they'd be to start the season, the Washington Commanders, the Carson Wentz-led Washington Commanders, which might end up being what the problem is with Washington this year. Again, you know, they have Wentz, and then they got Antonio Gibson, who's been okay. They have Jahan Dotson, who's been a pretty surprising rookie so far. I mean, we both liked him a lot coming in, so maybe it's not a huge surprise. Curtis Samuel's been playing all right for them, but outside of that, man, I don't know. This team just is another team. There's not a lot to be excited about, unfortunately.
Yeah, I thought they'd be a lot better than they are. At least, like, I didn't think they're going to be that great, but I thought they'd be like around the 20s or something. And I was hoping Wentz would step up, but no, they really haven't done anything. Obviously, we have them ranked as the second worst team, and they keep getting their ass whooped over and over again. Yeah. So has not been looking pretty for Washington.
No, it has not. Moving on, team number 30, you have the Chicago Bears dropping 1 spot. Man, I mean, I hope the Vikings don't make Chicago look better than they are this Sunday. I know you're going to be at the game, actually, so we really hope that they don't do that. This should be a team that the Vikings should handle easily. The Bears, I don't know, man. Justin Fields just isn't looking to be the answer.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah, he's been underwhelming. I was actually one of the people that did kind of want him that one draft. I'm glad we didn't. But the Giants have a solid team, nothing too crazy, and the Bears lost to them. They're still 2-2, but still, I feel like their couple of wins seemed kind of fluky anyways. From a talent standpoint, again, I don't think they're just that special. So we're going to destroy them. So
yeah, let's hope so. Moving on to team number 29, you have the Carolina Panthers. Things are not looking good for Matt Rule, Baker Mayfield, and company over there in Carolina. Young team again, obviously. A lot of pieces along the offense and defense, but coach ain't it. And unfortunately, like I said before, I'm a Baker guy, but I just don't think he's the answer as well. I don't think Sam Darnold's the answer. This team needs a fresh start at the 2 most important positions on any football team, head coach and quarterback.
Yeah, again, it's kind of Christian McCaffrey's team, and I think it will go as far as he can take them. He ended up with 9 catches for 81 yards and a touchdown. It shows how valuable he is. They used DJ Moore a little bit more this week, but they need to use him even more and more because he's by far the best wide receiver. Yeah, I don't know. It hasn't been pretty, but we didn't expect it to be really.
Right, exactly. Speaking of not being pretty, but it has kind of worked out for them this year, as the New York Jets moving up to number 28 after their victory over the terrible Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, I mean, Zach Wilson obviously looked rusty in his comeback from his injury. Hey, still caught a touchdown. Still got the ball down where it needed to be when it mattered. Yeah, I mean, I think Wilson to Wilson in New York could end up being a dangerous combo for years to come. Obviously, Breece Hall's been playing really well at running back there this year, rookie season. So there's Tyler Conklin's been playing well. There's a lot to like about this Jets team. Just got to put it all together.
Yeah, I mean, they ended up still beating a Pittsburgh Steelers team. That defense isn't terrible. Obviously, it'd be a lot better with TJ Watt. My only concern is Garrett Wilson or Zach Wilson coming in and not throwing to Garrett Wilson as much and favoring Elijah Moore. I have Garrett Wilson on my fantasy team, so I do not want to see that happen. So he needs to step up. If he wants to continue winning games, they need to get it in Garrett Wilson's hands here on out. Yeah. So
I love Garrett Wilson, best receiver in this draft class. Moving on number 27, it is those Pittsburgh Steelers finally made the move to Kenny Pickett. 2 rushing touchdowns, but also 3 interceptions as well. Coming in the middle of a game isn't the best situation for any rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
We'll see what he can do the rest of the season. I think that's the big thing with Pittsburgh. I think Mike Tomlin, unfortunately, I love Mike Tomlin, but he can kind of wave his consecutive non-losing season streak goodbye, I think, this year. But the rest of this season is evaluating Kenny Pickett and seeing what you need to do in the offseason to help him be better. And I think that's what it comes down to with this team this year.
Yeah, we like Kenny Pickett a lot coming into this year. He was by far, I think, our favorite quarterback coming into the draft. And so I'm excited just to see what he brings to the table. And who knows, maybe he's one of those lucky random quarterbacks that can come in and improve this team. Because the thing about it is there is a lot of talent on the Steelers. The thing with Kenny Pickett, though, that is funny, is he did throw those 3 interceptions, but I think he ended up, I don't know the exact stat, but he was like 11 for 14 or something. His only incompletions were the 3 interceptions. So, I mean, if he shores up the interceptions, who knows?
Yeah, could be the guy. Moving on, number 26, the Seattle Seahawks, a shootout against the Detroit Lions. Detroit, I mean, we'll talk about that when we get to Detroit, but Geno Smith looked pretty solid this game. DK Metcalf finally had his breakout performance. Tyler Lockett's getting involved. Rashad Penny finally came out this season. Defensively, obviously, not very good, but the offensive pieces, we knew about the offensive pieces. It all just came down to the play of Geno Smith, and so far, I mean, it's been up and down, but this is a good game for Geno.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who had Seattle as probably their worst team coming into this year. I mean, maybe second to worst or the worst. They have a couple good wins. The only thing about this, and I didn't want to bring them too high on this list or bring the Lions too far down, is the Lions had barely any of their wide receiver talent. And if you're missing Chark and Amon-Ra St. Brown, it's going to affect your team quite a bit, I think. So I kind of take that with a grain of salt. I don't think Seattle was against the best version of the Lions. So
right. Yeah. But yeah. Moving on, number 25, the Brian Hoyer and then Bailey Zappi led New England Patriots. You just couldn't finish the job against Green Bay, could you?
You had it. They had it. They got
your hands. Drive down the field, kick a field goal, whatever. You know,
I know they needed like 10 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally 10 yards. Exactly. And then they were so worried to what's the court? Zappy?
Yeah. Yep. Zappy. Yep.
Zappy. They were so worried about him throwing the ball there that they just like ran the ball. And it's like, man, no matter what, that's your quarterback. You try to get in field goal range and win this game. I mean, if he messes up, he messes up. But obviously, you got to try to do something. You can't just run the ball and hope that you get in field goal range.
Yeah,
I don't know. That game was the worst game because now the Packers in most people's power rankings is like a top 5 team,
it's
and
ridiculous.
They almost lost to every single team so far this year, and the only team that they beat good was the Chicago Bears. So
exactly.
Screw you, Packers.
No, but it does show you the Patriots still do have some weapons on that offense since they're able to at least hang in that game. And Bailey Zappi looked pretty good, but
with the third string quarterback.
Overall, though, it's just a struggle for this team this year. Moving on, number 24, the Atlanta Falcons, somehow 2-2, somehow tied for first place in that division. I don't know. No Cordell Patterson anymore. Marcus Mariota didn't look great. I don't know what to think of the Atlanta Falcons, so that's probably why they're down in the 20s for us. It's just, I don't know. It's a strange team.
Yeah, we're slowly bringing them up, very slowly. But I mean, they were close to being a 3-1 team, and I think even I forgot who they lost to week 2, because week 1, who was it? The Saints that they
Yeah.
were winning the whole game, and then the Saints
Yeah.
came back. Week 2, I don't remember who it was, but I'm pretty sure the game was somewhat close. Or no, I think it was against the Rams, and then they came back on them.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, man, maybe they are the team that's not as bad as we think, but it's still like I don't trust them.
Yeah.
And we're bringing them slowly. Cordell Patterson will hurt. He was on my fantasy
Yep.
team as well. That sucks,
Yeah.
but
I mean, hey, if Kelvin Ridley was on this team along with Drake London, watch out.
Right.
This team could be pretty good.
The what's it? Kyle Pitts thing is still interesting.
Yeah.
I think he only had one catch again.
Yeah, they got to force that man the ball. But anyway, beating the Cleveland Browns, not a bad team to beat there. 23. Those Cleveland Browns. How do you lose to the Falcons? Come on. You got the best running back. I mean, you could argue Nick Chubb is the best running back in football right now, all around, playing really good ball. Jacoby Brissett's actually looking pretty good. Defensively, I mean, obviously no Myles Garrett hurt them for sure, but I don't know. Right. I was expecting this team to be a lot better.
They're a really weird team because they lost to the Panthers they barely beat the Panthers week 1, lost to the Jets week 2, and then they beat the Steelers week 3, and then now they lost to the Falcons. Yeah. So they're just like just being a weird team this year. But they obviously and even with the win for their record, they've been against pretty easy teams. I mean, I wish the Vikings had their schedule. Yeah. I mean, 4 teams that we have almost like late 20s. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe Cleveland's not that good of a team, but if they stay healthy up until Deshaun, or not healthy, but if they still stay competitive until Deshaun Watson comes up, he could change everything. So
for sure. As you saw, number 22, we have the New Orleans Saints. Could not beat the Minnesota Vikings in London. Almost tied the game on a 61-yard field goal, which was pretty crazy. Obviously, no Jameis Winston, no Michael Thomas, no Elvin Kamara.
Right.
That game, I think, would have been a lot different if they had all those players. But maybe we'd have played better as well. I don't know. But yeah, the Saints, they're not a bad team, but they're definitely not good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you're missing Elvin Kamara, Winston, and Michael Thomas. That is going to make a big difference. The funny thing with the Vikings, though, is I think we're a team that still could have beat them. And I still think we do have that problem a little bit with playing down to our competition a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't like from last year. And we need, even if there's injured players or they're not, or there's good players, whatever, at least we're winning those games. So that's all that matters. So that's why I kind of keep them at the same, because they were missing some players, so you can't really push them down too hard. But yeah, they're just not that great this year. But I mean, with Kamara healthy and Michael Thomas being healthy, they still do have that talent to make themselves make their way up this list a little bit. But
for sure. Moving on, number 21, you have the Indianapolis Colts, another team that's just really, really weird this year. That's all I got to say about them. No, they have no Jonathan Taylor this Thursday, unfortunately. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and a team that looked really bad in the first couple of weeks, just to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who's like one of the best teams, and then lose again to the Titans. I don't know. I just don't think they're as good as people are hoping. And yeah, maybe they can pull out one of those random good wins here and there, but they're another one of those weird teams, like you said.
Yeah. Moving on, number 20, you have another weird team, the New York Giants, somehow 3-1. They were playing with Saquon Barkley as their quarterback in this game for a while, which is just insane. Saquon Barkley is the star of this football team still. I know a lot of people thought it was all done for him, but he's proving that he is one of the premier running backs in football and a guy you can center your team around. Yeah, man. I mean, I know you only beat the Bears. Please win this week in London. Beat the Packers. That's all I ask.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. This is another sneaky team that I keep, like, when you look at them and everything about them, you're like, this is just not a good team. But somehow they're still 3-1.
Yeah.
And I think their only loss is against Cowboys, right? So, and that's a pretty good, surprisingly good Cowboys team without Dak. So this could be a team that's pretty solid
for the most part.
Yeah, and they were in that
honestly,
game. So
Danny Dimes ain't looking that bad.
No, not terrible.
Not too bad. Not too bad. Just, maybe get OBJ in the building and things might change for them. Who knows? Moving on, number 19. Yep, the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions. Here's a stat I was going to toss out there. Number 1 in scoring offense, like 35 points a game. Also, number 32 in scoring defense at around the same margin. 0-4. Disappointing.
Yeah.
And obviously, like you said, that last game, they didn't have Amon-Ra St. Brown. They didn't have DeAndre Swift. No DJ Chark. And somehow they still hung on into that and kept that game close. I know they were and I think Seattle might have been playing some prevent, but they still kept the game close, which was pretty impressive. Never thought that I would lose a bidding war in week 5 for Jared Goff in fantasy football. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, man, they've had a tough schedule. I mean, playing against us, of course, Philly, but other than Seattle, but then they didn't have their players. So I don't know, man. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's like, man, we see them and it's like their team is competitive and they have some good players, but it does suck. Them being finally like pretty solid team and being 0-4 is such a Lions thing to happen.
Yeah, for sure. Disappointing. I'm on number 18, a team that's 2 in a row. Tennessee Titans finally leaning back on Derrick Henry a little bit. Ryan Tannehill's whatever. I mean, I don't know. Ryan Tannehill's kind of a median quarterback. No Treylon Burks. I know he got injured. Defensively, still pretty solid. So I don't know. Another team. I just don't know what to think.
Yeah, that's another tough one. They had a couple not very good. Well, they lost to the Giants week 1 by like a point, and then week 2 got destroyed by the Bills.
Yeah.
And then now they have 2 wins that aren't like extremely convincing, but they're pretty good wins. So yeah, they're another team that was really good last year, almost a surprising team last year. So if all they have to do is just rely on Derrick Henry more and they just keep running their team through that, maybe things will change around for them.
Or they were the 1 seed last year. They were the 1 seed last year. I'm pretty sure in the
AFC. Were they really in AFC?
So, yeah.
See, exactly. So I think we'll see, but I still like, I don't know. There's something about them that doesn't want me to put them up too far yet because they haven't just beat a really good team or they haven't showed it against. And we've seen them lose against a solid team in the Giants, and then we saw them get absolutely handled by a really good team in the Bills. So
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, another team. The jury's still out on them. Number 17, Denver Broncos. The offense finally came to life a little bit, much to the chagrin of my fantasy team. Of course, I ended up losing this last week because of Russell Wilson and Cortland Sutton, which is very disappointing. But yeah, their offense finally came to life, and they lost to the Raiders still. So I don't know what to think of this team.
Yeah, this is another team.
There's a lot of teams I don't know what to think about.
Yeah, it's another weird team that, man, based on talent, they look like they'd be one of the better teams, but they keep underperforming big time. Russell Wilson keeps underperforming, and they lost to a Raiders team that was 0-3 up until this week after beating a 49ers team that just whooped the shit out of the Rams. So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're a weird team. Number 16, you have the Las Vegas Raiders. Offense finally came to life, won a football game. I don't know, man. I heard Devontae Adams had a closed-door meeting with the GM and the coach and with Josh McDaniels, and looked like it worked. They figured some things out. The offense looked competent. Yeah, let's go. The Raiders win a game.
I don't blame him, man. I mean, he's a superstar. You got to get him to the ball as much as possible. And for an 0-3 team coming into this game that we thought like Las Vegas, they're like better than an 0-3 team or whatever.
Yeah.
And then for them to go and beat Denver this way, it showed like, all right, I think they are better than that. So that's why I was like, I think they can even be better than Denver in general.
Yeah, for sure. Number 15, the Arizona Cardinals, another team that I don't know what to think. This team, the one thing you can say, and I've heard other people say it, this team will go as far as Kyler Murray can drag them. Just stay competitive until DeAndre Hopkins gets back, and from there, who knows? It's a whole different ballgame. Obviously, and then good on JJ Watt playing. I mean, he had a heart condition or a heart issue this last week, and he still played. So JJ Watt's still a beast.
And I think Rondo Moore came back. He wasn't too involved, but still, I mean, that's good they're going in the right direction. And like you said, when Hopkins comes back and stuff, as long as it's kind of like the Brown situation with Watson, if they can just keep a solid record and they get the pieces back, who knows? They could end up being one of the better teams. So
for sure. Number 14, Jacksonville Jaguars. Hey, good on. They tried their hardest. They had a 14-0 lead on the Eagles in this game here. Still ended up losing it, but man, I think the future is bright for this Jaguars team. They finally got the right coach in there with Doug Peterson. Trevor Lawrence is showing us why he was the number 1 overall pick and the best quarterback prospect in the last so many years. This team's finally starting to come together, and I love to see it.
Yeah, this is a team that even though they lost to the Eagles, it was hard to even bring them down for me a little bit, just because that game showed me like that they're here and they're a good team. They're not a bad team, just because of how competitive they stayed against the Eagles, including all the wins that they had up to this point. So
for sure. Moving on to team number 13, you have the San Francisco 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo came in, actually looked pretty solid. The running game was amazing. Debo and Jeff Wilson back there doing what they do. Defensively, this team is still a top 5, top 3 defense. So I don't know. We'll see. It's all about what that offense can do. So I don't know. We'll see what this team can do the coming weeks here.
Yeah, still another weird team too, though. I mean, lost to the Bears, lost to the Denver last week, and then come and beat the Rams the way they did. It is, I don't know where to put them. Some people like automatically shot them up right into the top 10. I wasn't ready to do that. They haven't showed me enough personally to just do that. So 13 is good for me.
Yeah. I saw power rankings that had the team that they beat, the Rams, like number 4 still, which is ridiculous. I'm moving on number 12. Big drop here. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know. Tom Brady, we don't need to get into it. We all know the stories. We all know the rumors and whatnot. I don't think his head's 100% in the game. Even with all of his weapons back, that defense that was supposed to be the thing that held his team together, that was a rough outing. And I get it that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are a good football team, but you got to be able to do something. I mean, Tom Brady, he tried. Mike Evans tried. Chris Godwin played pretty well. This team tried to keep him in the game, but that defense was just atrocious. Obviously, the turnover to start the game on special teams was a big heartbreaker. I don't know, man. Things just aren't looking good for the Buccaneers right now. But watch, at the end of the year, they won't lose another game. Tom Brady will bring them back to the promised land. Who knows?
It's Tom Brady. We're just motivating him by putting them at number 12 right now. Same with any other power rankings. I don't even know. We might have them lowest, honestly. But that's just because they got beat pretty handily by Kansas City, even though they stayed in the game. Kansas City was up the entire time. They should have beat the Packers, but they lost to the Packers. And then the wins that they did have against not amazing teams weren't very convincing wins. They were just by a couple, and the offense just has not gotten rolling too much yet. But there has been injuries and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, they dropped down, but obviously they're a team that could shoot themselves right back up, and I wouldn't be afraid of doing it if they would convince me enough. So
for sure. Moving on, number 11, the Dallas Cowboys. Cooper Rush led Dallas Cowboys just keep winning. So I don't know, man.
He's a winner, man.
And that defense is solid. The offense has pieces. Is there going to be a quarterback controversy when Dak gets back? We'll find out in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they'll have Dak. Cooper Rush is one of those quarterbacks that's just going to always be disrespected for whatever reason. I don't know if it's his name, but even before his first start against us, people are already like acting like he was straight trash. It's kind of like the Slaughter thing, where Slaughter could destroy in preseason but can't get a chance with any team or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think they'll let Dak back in. And Cowboys, I keep sneaking them up. It's hard because they should probably start going higher than this, but other team, it's just a weird year in the top 10, I think.
Yeah,
and it's hard to put them above these teams that we have in the top 10.
Let's get into that top 10. Starting off the top 10, at number 10, you have the Rams. I would have been perfectly fine with dropping them down to number 11. Their defense was terrible. I needed them to get 12 points in fantasy. They got like 4. They just allowed 2 rushing touchdowns, just looking atrocious. The Rams, Matthew Stafford is looking just like the Matthew Stafford of Detroit, where he just can't keep a drive going. I don't know, man. Cooper Kupp can't do it all on his own.
Yeah.
That offensive line is also atrocious.
They deserve. I mean, it's old Super Bowl champs. It's hard to it's hard to forget that, especially when you know that they have Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp. Last week they beat the Cardinals pretty easily, and then this week they lose to San Francisco the way they did. So it's kind of like, I think this is like their spot. We're giving you top 10, depending on let me check real quick who they even play this week. They play the Cowboys this week. So that's a good test. If they lose to the Cowboys, I think you put them down quite a bit. This is a good test for them. We put them at 10, and this is going to be, how do you do against the Cowboys? If you win, then I think you might be that team still. I don't know. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Moving on to number 9, the LA Chargers. Austin Eckler finally looked like the Austin Eckler I remember seeing. Mike Williams. I know you weren't very high on Mike Williams, but he's looked solid this year.
Yeah,
Justin Herbert slinging the ball around again after his 1 week of dealing with the rib injury. Obviously, they're still missing Joey Bosa on the defense there, but obviously we knew the potential of this team on offense, and it's starting to show even without Keenan Allen.
Right. Yeah, man. I mean, obviously it was just against the Texans, but Justin Herbert's that guy. And once they do get Keenan Allen back, I think it'll be huge for them. Even though Mike Williams has been super impressive. I don't know if it's just when Keenan Allen's there, Herbert just prefers to go to him or what. But we'll see. I mean, this team's also been all over the place, but I think they're a really good team. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Time will tell.
At 9, but
moving on, number 8, Cincinnati Bengals pulling off the win Thursday Night Football against the Miami Dolphins. Finally, we saw that Bengals offense we thought we were going to see. T. Higgins exploded. Jamar Chase was still Jamar Chase. Joe Mixon finally started to come around in the running game.
Mm-hmm.
The offensive line it held up decently, but you still worry about it. Defensively, they got Trey Hendrickson still there kicking ass. So, oh man, I think we're finally starting to see that Bengals team that we thought we were going to see this season. I think they're shaking off the Super Bowl hangover.
Yeah. After an 0-2 starts, when we did put them down on our list a little bit, but we did think that there's a chance that they turn it around or whatever, because there's just so much talent there. And obviously, even though Tua ended up getting injured, I think Teddy is still a pretty solid quarterback, and I don't think that affect the outcome as much. So for them to come in and beat a Miami team that's been really good so far this year, who literally beat the freaking Bills, I think they were deserving to start making their way up this list again. But I didn't want to put them too high. That 0-2 start was not pretty.
Yeah, no, it was not. Moving on, number 7. Yes, the Green Bay Packers. Congratulations. You beat Bailey Zappi and the New England Patriots. Like Jamie said, you haven't looked very great this year. Your wins have been bad. I know they're saying,
everyone wants
him and his receivers are going to get it all together and they're going to really start winning football games. I just don't know, man. Green Bay is whatever. Aaron Rodgers still looks brittle. Whatever. Nice win.
Yeah, they beat the Chicago. They barely as possible beat a third string quarterback Patriots team, and then they barely beat Tampa Bay, and then they lost to us. So yeah, it pisses me off that everybody automatic. I mean, we got to put them at 7, but you can't.
The Packers this season have gotten so lucky with everything, though. All the injuries and people they play, it all kind of just shakes out in their favor. Of course, like it always.
And they're not taking advantage of it that much. So
right. Spoiler alert: number 6, the Minnesota Vikings barely beating the New Orleans Saints in London this week. Get the Chicago Bears offense. Justin Jefferson finally got re-involved in the offense. Kirk had ups and downs, but you can't. I know even if you're the biggest Kirk hater in the world, you can't not credit him for that drive at the last bit there.
Right.
That throw to JJ was absolutely perfect. Great play call by Kevin O'Connell in that spot. Defensively is still a struggle. Ed Donatel, his days might be numbered here. I think he's the biggest issue on this football team, but that offense is going to figure it out, and we're finally starting to see that. They're finally giving the ball to Thielen. The running game needs to get going a little bit more. Maybe put Madison in there more. That's only my opinion. But yeah, defense is a problem on this team. But hey, you're winning 3-1. Rookie head coach, you'll take it.
Yeah, 3-1. Obviously, our wins haven't been like convincingly impressive, but honestly, the Vikings have made it up a little bit each week, even though it kind of back-to-back weeks where it wasn't crazy wins. But that's just because a lot of these other teams ahead of them just had terrible losses, and then so it's kind of like, well, we kind of have to put them up there. Yeah. Which I want them to be, but I also want to see a very convincing win by the Vikings to feel like we deserve a 6.
We ain't getting any convincing wins. Moving up to number 5, staying pat, is the Baltimore Ravens. Open up the huge lead against the Bills, and then you let it go. I get it, it's the Bills, but offensively, Lamar Jackson's playing the best football he's ever played, throwing and running. Again, weapons on that team. J.K. Dobbins showed out in a big way. They still have Bateman. Duvernay's looking good. They still have Mark Andrews. But that defensively, though, letting it. I mean, I get it. They're the Bills, but blowing that huge lead. I'm still a huge John Harbaugh fan. I think he's one of the best coaches in NFL history, honestly. always has a competitive football team over there in Baltimore, but that's a win you would have loved to have.
Yeah, I mean, there's two. That's the second time this year that they let a big comeback happen to them. Luckily for them, they are two pretty good teams, and that's why you don't fault them too much. And they still could be that team for all we know. So the talent and everything is obviously still there. They just can't let these other good teams come back on them, especially when they have the lead against one of these good teams. I don't know.
Yeah. For sure. Moving on, number 4, Miami Dolphins. They do drop a little bit here. Obviously, the Tua concussion. Hopefully, everything's going well with him there. That one was a painful to watch. But obviously, this team is still very talented. We'll see what Teddy can do. Maybe we'll even see him in a couple weeks. Who knows? However long it takes Tua to get back, I would bet we'll probably see Teddy. That offense is talented. Defense is talented. So Mike McDaniels is coaching a good squad over there. But obviously, with the loss and the injuries, I mean, you kind of look at the team they have now, and we'll see. We'll see what Teddy can do.
Yeah, I think Teddy's a guy that you can just put in, and he isn't gonna make a lot of errors. Kind of like, Tua even does a little bit more. He isn't gonna blow the top off or the roof or anything like that. But he's a solid quarterback, and it is a kind of confusing to where to put them this week since they beat the Bills. And they beat the Bills and they beat the Ravens, but then they lost to the Bengals. So yeah, it was kind of an interesting place to put them. But
interesting, yeah, for sure. Moving on to number 3, you have the Kansas City Chiefs coming off their win on Sunday Night Football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, going into Raymond James Stadium and absolutely annihilating Tampa. The score didn't tell the truth about how this game went. Right after we were kind of talking a little bit of shit. Oh, you lost to the Colts, whatever. It's just a fluke loss. Patrick Mahomes is still one of the top tier quarterbacks in the game. I would put him at number 2 behind Josh Allen. You're probably going to see those two go against each other in the AFC Championship game again. This team, I mean, we were all wondering about the loss of Tyreek Hill, and yes, it hurts, but he still has Travis Kelce, who's an absolute animal at tight end. So
right, and
I don't know, man. It's a good football team.
Yeah, they need to continue using Travis Kelce that much. I feel like they haven't been using him as much, especially as they did in that Tampa Bay game. Mahomes is just insane, though. I mean, he's my number 1 quarterback over Josh Allen, over any quarterback, easily. I think if a game's on the line, I think he's the guy that you want behind there, and he just does that insane stuff like he did with that touchdown pass to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. When he scrambled all over the field, went up, tossed it over. I don't know. It's crazy. No quarterbacks doing stuff like that. Josh Allen is impressive, though. Yeah. But
speaking of which, play Pacheco more. The guy's a stud at running back. Moving on to number 2. Here's the first changeup. It's weird after a win to drop your number 1 team, but the Buffalo Bills do drop to number 2. Obviously, you let the Ravens build that big lead on you. Yes, you came back. But I mean, I know there's probably still down some corners over there. Josh Allen is Josh Allen, though. It's a weird spot, but obviously, I mean, you know what team's missing so far. You know who the number 1 team is. We couldn't do it 2 weeks in a row. So Buffalo, as good as they are, and as much as I love this team and think they're going to be in the Super Bowl picture all year long, they need to take a drop this week.
Yeah, even though, I mean, it was a win, but they did have to come back from behind. They lost to Miami last week, and there is a team out there that hasn't lost a single game this year. And they beat pretty handily. I feel like that team could have came back when they did face them, but probably one of the best teams, if not the best teams in the NFL. And that was the Vikings that they beat. So our number 1 is the Eagles.
Hate to say it, but you got to give Philadelphia a lot of credit. Jalen Hurts didn't have his best throwing game, but man, running in that touchdown, leading his team back against the Jags. Obviously, I know Trevor Lawrence turned the ball over to them a couple times, but yeah, man, there's a lot to love about this Philadelphia team. The defense is good. Offense is solid. 2 really good receivers there. Miles Sanders had his coming out party this game. He looked really good. So, yeah, man, 4-0. That's all you got to say.
Yeah, they're definitely a surprise this year. I still think the Bills could be. It's hard. They're convincing. I can't say that the Bills are better, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills pass them up again.
Right. I know people are talking about Super Bowl picture for the Eagles before the season. I didn't see it. I thought, for sure, probably a fringe playoff team, but now I'm definitely seeing that Super Bowl look to them. So Jalen Hurts can keep going. That's the biggest thing with this team. So that'll do it for our power rankings this week. Let us know what you thought down in the comment section down below where you would have put the teams. Let us know who your number 1 team is, and we'll see you guys next time on the GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikes.